Okay, well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bill Morgan. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Anglo Mining PLC. Before I start the presentation, I would just like to say a little bit about timing, in as much that our interim results will be released in a couple of weeks from now, and it's a fairly exciting time around the company. We've announced that we will be paying a maiden dividend, and obviously a lot of people who know the company very well are quite interested to know what our dividend policy will be. Well, I'm afraid I can't disclose that tonight. You will have to wait for the interim results announcement in a couple of weeks' time. We're also doing a big geological exploration program, and again, I know some of our shareholders are quite keen to find out the results of that, but again, I'm afraid that you will have to wait. So this presentation tonight is going to be much more towards giving people who don't know the company that well more of an overview about the company rather than talking about some of the new developments, which we will be making some announcements fairly soon. Okay, so this is an overview about the group. We're a very well-established company. We've been listed on AIM since 2005, and we produced our first gold in 2009. We've got an experienced board and very strong management. And we've got excellent relationships with the government and a very stable political landscape. Our main site is Giedebek, which I will talk a little bit more about, where we've got 3 mines and our processing facilities. We've got very highly developed infrastructure. We've got main roads that go to the site. We've got electricity from the grid. We've got water, and we've got very good infrastructure. And we've got a good pipeline of exploration prospects and potential for future mines. I think the 2 key things in this slide is, first of all, is a very stable political landscape. Azerbaijan is a very stable country at the moment. We've got a contract with the government, which I will talk a little bit more about. The government are very hands-off. There's absolutely no rumours or any kind of action by the government to try and renegotiate or try and get any more money out of the company. They are very, very honourable in that respect, and I think this is very important now. If you look at the mining industry, there are a lot of horror stories coming out of various mining companies about governments are trying to get more money. Just read the paper with Rio in Mongolia or Kinross in Mauritania. There are a lot of these stories. So I think it's a very key part of what we're doing is the fact that we're operating in Azerbaijan, which is a very safe country to operate in. Okay, to give you a little bit of an idea of the size of the company, our production is growing. Last year we produced 71,461 gold equivalent ounces, and this year we're looking at 78,000 to 84,000 gold equivalent ounces. Last year we had revenues of 72 million and we had profit before tax of 5.7 million, and the company currently has net cash, which we've just announced. The company's been through a real financial turnaround over the last 4 years. When I joined the company just over 4 years ago, the company had $52 million worth of debt and very little cash. That has all been paid off, except for a small loan that we've got, and we've actually now got more cash in the bank than we have debt. So that's some remarkable cash generation from a company of this size. We've got very low cost. We've got an all-in sustaining cost of gold of $604 per ounce. And as I've said, it is our intention to pay our first dividend to our shareholders, and the board will soon announce a policy on that. Okay, just to give you a bit more information about the shareholders. We've got a market cap of around about 52 million at the moment. Now, we think that market cap is very, very low, and it should be a lot higher, but then every company says that. But I will point out 2 things. If you were to start looking at some of our metrics on the cash that we're generating and start doing some multiples of market cap, you will see that we're generating a lot more cash than really you would expect from a company of this market capitalisation. Secondly, obviously, for every $1 million worth of debt that we pay down, that's $1 million we're adding to the market cap. And if you look at the share price, which has done remarkably well, it was 3p 4 years ago. and is now up to 45p, you think, well, that is a big increase in market cap. But really, that's just nothing more than the fact we paid down over $50 million worth of debt, and we've improved the business. So effectively, the market cap of the business has gone nowhere. So we think that that factor alone really justifies the fact that we can say that this business is got a low market cap. And the shareholders is Reza Faziri. He's a prominent local businessman. He founded the company. He owns just under 30%, and he founded it with Governor John Sununu, who also owns around about 9%. So they are the two founding shareholders of the company. Okay, these are the directors and senior management. As I said just now, Reza Faziri, he is the founder of the company. He's a very prominent businessman in Azerbaijan, very well known, and he's set the company up with Governor John Sununu. And the rest of the team were all very seasoned mining executives. I've been in the mining business in Russia and for the former Soviet Union now for 20 years. Okay, this is a little bit about where we are in Azerbaijan. The capital here is Baku, which is actually on the coast, and this area here is actually mountainous, where you're looking at the foothills of the Caucasian Mountains, and this is the Tethyan Belt. So this is a very prospective area. We've got two territories, or two concessions, I should say, in that part of the world. We've got Gidebek, which is our main site, and we've also got Gosha, where we've got a small underground mine. This part of Azerbaijan is called Nakhchivan. It's not connected to the main part of Azerbaijan. That's a political issue. But there we've also got an exploration project called Ordubad. At the moment, that's just an exploration project, but we think that's very prospective. Okay. This is a view of the main site at Gidebek. Gidebek is actually a village by the side of a very good road with very good communications, and we're about a mile from that village and that main road. And at the main site, we've got the main open pit here. This is the original mine that really got the project going. We also have the processing facilities, which I will talk about later. We have an underground mine here, which is Gadir. And this mine is actually something we started about 3 years ago when we sunk a decline. And it's really actually all part of the same ore body that we're now just discovering. We also have a second open pit, which is the Ugor open pit, which is here. That's 4.5 kilometres from the processing facilities. And this is a road that we actually built between the processing facilities and the open pit so we could get the ore into the factory. And this is the entrance to the decline of the Gadir underground mine. Okay, so just to take you through the mines that we have, this is the Gidebek main open pit mine. This is actually a view of the back wall of that mine. It's quite interesting. You can actually see a lot of copper colour here because it's copper as well as gold ore. It's been producing since 2009. The first half of 2018, we produced 51,000 tonnes at an average gold grade of 0.96 grams per tonne. It's grading about 0.5% copper. And in 2000 and 2018, this year, we've started to do a lot of work looking at the potential of this mine and actually really starting to see what the mine life is. At the moment, we think it's got at least another 3 or 4 years. Okay, this is the Gadir and below main open pit underground mine. This has been producing since 2015. The first 6 months of this year, we produced 45,000 tonnes, just over, grading at 5.15 grams per tonne. That's a much higher grade. We think that there is a significant expansion potential here. I've been down the mine recently, and there are a lot of tunnels that are looking very prospective. And it's one of our objectives is to get a JORC resource out for this underground mine soon. And this year we're also doing a lot of core surface drilling and other drilling for these two mines. Excuse me. This is the new Yuga open pit mine that we actually got into operation. Now this was discovered in October 2016. We started production in September 2017. So we got this from, you know, some geological data into a producing mine in a year. Now, for people who really understand what it takes to develop mines, that is unbelievable. I mean, you know, to actually go from nothing, or a field or the side of a mountain as we had, into a producing mine in just over a year, just shows you the speed that we can act. And partly that's because, as I would say, we're very entrepreneurial and very good at what we do, but partly it's also because of the fact that we've got a very good licensing regime. We're free to do what we like within our existing contracting areas, so we didn't have to do a long process of permitting, etc. In the first half of 2018, we got 461,000 tonnes at an average grade of 1.32 grams per gold, and we produced 31,282 ounces as gold doré from ore from this pit. And we've got a total JORC resource of 199,000 ounces of gold and just over 1 million ounces of silver. Okay, and this table is really for completeness, but this is actually the JORC resource and reserves for the Yuga open pit. As you can see that we've got the 199,000 ounces of gold and just over the 1 million ounces of silver. This slide is, I think, one of my favourite slides, if you can make sense of it. The company started off heap leaching crushed ore. So it was a very simple project when the company started. It had an open pit mine and it was heap leaching crushed ore. And that was producing gold doré. And that is a very standard, very simple process. The next stage in the development of the processing facilities was they added a facility called SART. This is taking the residue out of the agitation or from the heaps and extracting the copper. So we were then producing, as well as gold doré, we were producing copper concentrate. The third stage in the development of the processing was to add an agitation leaching plant. This is very standard technology. Most of the world, you would call it a carbon-in-leach plant or a CIL plant. We call it an agitation leach plant because we use resin, we don't use carbon. And the reason for that is, and I'm not making this up, is you can't grow coconut trees in Russia. There's no charcoal supply in Russia, so the Russians developed a technique which is widely used within the former Soviet Union of using resin to do the deabsorption. We then added heap leaching from uncrushed ore. That's really just to use some low-grade ore to get some gold out of it. And finally, we added a flotation plant. So we've got a good range of technologies that we can use, mainly agitated leaching and flotation, but also some SART. And we're producing two products. We're producing gold doré. That gets flown to Switzerland and we get it refined and sold to the refiner. The copper concentrate is picked up by site from a metal trader. Okay, so these are just some photos to try and bring alive what we've been doing and some recent investments. As I said, we are connected to the power grid, and this is the electrical substation that we built at site to actually connect the site to the power grid. We had a positive water balance, so we're actually now purifying water that comes out of the plant, and then we're using it to go back into the plant. So this is a water purification treatment or water purification plant that we built. This works through reverse osmosis. We recently upgraded the grinding circuit, and this is a new SAG mill that we put in, and we've recently added a second crusher line. That was only put into operation literally within the last couple of months, and that's really given us a lot more capacity. It's almost doubling the capacity of the plant because we can now run the flotation plants and the agitation leach plants separately. Okay, this is just some graphics regarding the production and sales. As you can see that the production is now growing. We've got a 19% increase year on year if you compare Q2's production to Q2 production of this year. And here is some more figures regarding the full year production 2017 and in the half year. Okay, just a little bit about the production sharing agreement with the government of Azerbaijan. It's unusual in the mining business. Most people have a mining contract where we actually have a production sharing contract. And the reason for this is that this is a type of contract that is typically used in the oil business, and obviously Azerbaijan's main industry is oil, so they used a contract based on the oil industry, which is a production sharing agreement. The government actually take part of our physical production. We don't pay them a royalty, they actually physically take the production. And what they're entitled to is 51% of the profit production, and the profit production is the value of production less all operating and capital costs incurred when the production took place. So all of us accountants who think in accruals terms don't think in accruals terms. This is purely on a cash basis. So they look at the value of our production, they look at all of the costs that was incurred, and they take 51% of the difference. Now, obviously, in a mine, your production costs, capital and operation, are going to be higher than your production in the early stages because you're making a capital investment. So to make sure they get some profit production from the beginning of the mine, they actually set a minimum profit production of 25% of the value of production. So profit production of 25% will give the government 12.75% of our production. And you can get your unrecovered costs carried forward indefinitely. Now, because of the fact that we're still recovering costs, we are still subject to this profit production of 25%. Wrap that all up, and the net result is that we are paying effectively 12.75% royalty on our production, and we're expecting that to continue at least until 2023. Okay, this is some quick ones on the financials. As I say, our net debt was reduced by 32 million from 35 million at January the 1st, 2017 to 3 million at the 30th of June 2018, and we've just announced today that I've now got net cash. This is the 2016 numbers compared to the 2017 numbers, and I think the number that is more important here than anything is we've got a very low all-in sustaining cost. I mean, Azerbaijan is a very cheap country to operate in. This is the full year 2018 production target. We're looking at 78 to 84,000 gold equivalent ounces, which is a 16% increase over 2017. So we're looking at increasing copper from 1,991 tonnes last year to around about 2,100 to 2,300 tonnes this year. We don't forecast silver. And we're looking at gold production increasing from 59,617 ounces to around 64 to 70,000 ounces of gold. We've got an exploration program. We've started a 3-year rolling program of geological exploration, near mine, brownfield and greenfield. We're looking at a total of around about 43,000 metres of surface and underground drilling. We're also going to be doing some airborne geophysics. We're expecting that to cost around about 6 million this year, and that will all be funded from our existing cash flow. Right, so I've got 1 minute left. So why invest in Anglo-Asian? We're established. We produced the first gold in 2019. We've got a highly qualified team. We're the only listed miner in Azerbaijan, and actually after BP, we're the second largest UK business operating in Azerbaijan. We're highly cash generative, as you can see. We are going to be announcing a maiden dividend soon. We had a regulatory issue regarding that in terms of our distributable reserves, but we've had to get our share premium account reduced down to nil. That was done just last week. As I say, we've got a fast track ability. As I say, we brought Uyghur mine into production 1 year from discovery. And we think, given the amount of ground that we've got under contract in Azerbaijan and the fact that we've already started opening new mines, we think that we've got some very, very good targets and a lot of potential there. Wrap up and begin question time.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions, anybody? Over there.
Thank you. Who are your major shareholders?
As I said on the slide, Risa Vaziri, who is a prominent local businessman, he owns just under 30%. He was the founder of the company. Governor Sununu, who also set up the company with him, he owns round about just under 10%. And you add those two shares together, plus all of the shares owned by the directors and the senior management, that's about 42% of the company. So 42% of the company is really in the hands of the board of directors and the senior management.
Is there any major competitor in the area?
No. Azerbaijan does not have a history of gold mining. I think we're the only public gold mining company operating. The only other gold mining company that's operating in Azerbaijan is a company called AZERGOLD, which is owned by the government. The government are quite keen to diversify out of oil and gas, and they are doing some work through effectively a parastatal company on some further deposits. But no, there's no competition for what we're doing.
Thank you.
You quoted on the London stock market.
Yeah, we quoted on AIM, as I said.
Question at the back.
Can you tell me where your gold is sold and how you paid? Is it in what currency you paid in?
What, the dividend?
No, the gold. When you
Who
sell
do
the
you
gold.
Oh, the gold, sorry.
Yeah.
We have two products. We have gold doré, which is an alloy of gold and silver. That is shipped to a company in Switzerland called MKS. They are a Swiss gold refiner. They refine the gold, and then we sell the gold bullion and the silver bullion to that company. And that gets paid to us in dollars. I don't think it's public knowledge where those dollars go, but it goes into a dollar bank account. We also sell copper and gold concentrate. We have that picked up at site by a Swiss metal trader, and they pay us for that as well, and it's in dollars. So we are a completely dollar-based company in terms of our revenue.
Don't you ever reach a point where the price of gold is worth more than the currency you're paid in?
I think gold is worth what gold is worth, actually. We tend not to spend a lot of time looking at the price of gold. We think with our very low costs, we can weather any kind of low gold price. It's been through a fairly significant decline over the last 2 to 3 months, but we don't sit there, without...
You don't hedge at all?
We hedged 2 years ago. The reason for that was we had quite heavy debt repayments that year. The price of gold was looking quite high, so we wanted to hedge enough gold so that we were confident that we could repay our debt.
And did you?
And we did hedge, and we made a small profit on it, and we repaid our debt. But at the moment, we've got no issues about being able to repay debt. And these gold prices, I don't think you would want to hedge. So at the moment, we're not hedging. But, we've got the ability to do so, and we keep an eye on it.
Good. Another question towards the back.
You mentioned that you got some net cash you got cash in your bank account.
Yeah.
So how much exactly do you have?
I've got to be careful what I say here. We have announced that we have got net cash, and I will say no more than that. So at the moment, our cash is more than our borrowings. We had at
Hence
the
you're
end.
able to pay a dividend in...
Sorry?
Hence you're able to pay a dividend in 2 weeks or announce a dividend, I presume.
Yeah, we have said that we will announce a dividend. We've said that we will announce a dividend in the third... Which quarter are we in? We're in the third quarter of the year. As I say, we are now in a position to pay that dividend, given that we've just had the share premium reduction approved by the court. And although we've not actually said it, I mean, obviously with our interim results coming out in a couple of weeks' time, that will be the natural place for us to
So to answer
announce
this
a
question,
dividend.
you've got surplus cash, basically.
Yeah.
Don't hear that very often from a gold miner. Is that an answer to your question? They've got surplus cash. Is that okay? Any other questions?
Yeah, do you operate somewhere else or only Azerbaijan?
No, we operate at the moment purely within Azerbaijan. This is a question we get asked a lot. Would we look at operating outside of Azerbaijan? And I think it's a question, if the right opportunity come up, we might look at it. But, you know, the right opportunity would need to be there. But because of the fact that we're very well connected in Azerbaijan, and because of the fact that we've got an awful lot of territory, which we think is very prospective, there's no real momentum or no great, you know, necessity, put it that way, for us to go out and look outside what we're doing. We've certainly got more than enough work to be getting on with to keep taking the company forward.
More questions? One just down here.
Can you tell me, when you've sort of featured on the low valuation of the company, what do you think will be the main driver to drive the re-rate?
I think, well, everyone is telling us, and obviously the dividend should be a driver to re-rate the company, because our shareholding list at the moment, or our list of shareholders, is purely private shareholders, and we don't have any institutional shareholders at the moment. Now, obviously, once we were to start getting institutional shareholders in, maybe getting some family offices buying into the company, we think that would be a good catalyst to re-rate the share price. And these types of people tend to only invest in companies paying a dividend. So obviously, we're thinking that, you know, a dividend will be a good way of trying to improve the market cap.
Just a second comment. SP Angel seemed to suggest that one of the main drivers would be a significant increase in your reserves. What do you say to that?
One of the things that we are trying to do is to try and get JORC resource and reserve statements done for some of our mines, in particular for the Gadir underground mine, and an updated resource for the open pit. So obviously, if we can get those numbers done and we can get them out there and they show good numbers, that would obviously be another reason why the share price will be uprated. And obviously, this is something that we are working to do this year.
Thank you.
Question there.
Just a quick question about the percentage the government gets. I think you said it was 51% production costs or something like that? Potentially.
They get 51% of profit production. And profit production is defined as the value of the production less all of our capital and operating costs. And if the capital and operating costs are more than the value of the production, which is what you'd obviously expect in the early stage of a project, because you're putting all the capex into it, the profit production is fixed at 25% of the value of production. So effectively, they're getting a minimum of 51% of 25% each year. And because we've been continually investing in the mine, we have never got to a stage where the profit production is actually more than that. So effectively, for the last, well, since the company started, we've been paying a production share of 12.75%.
But you said that your costs, could your costs include the debt repayments? So by actually reducing your debts, you're going to now have to pay the government potentially more?
No, because the way the production sharing agreement works in terms of interest is we're not actually using our actual interest paid. We're allowed to actually claim a notional interest rate against the total value of our capex for effectively financing. I think it's about 4%. So for the interest that we're allowed to include, or the interest cost that we're allowed to include as part of our costs. That's done on a notional basis, not on an actual basis. So the fact that we've repaid all our debt and we are now paying a lot less interest doesn't mean to say we're suddenly decreasing considerably the amount of costs that we're allowed to carry.
Finally, because you're only based in Azerbaijan, Trump, sorry to mention him, but Trump cannot actually impose sanctions against you because you're only dealing in Azerbaijan. You wouldn't be excluded from any other places because you're not working there.
Well, there's a very nice Trump tower in the middle of Baku, so I can't see why he would want to impose sanctions on Azerbaijan. He would be doing... Sorry? No, I see no reason why he would want to do that. Azerbaijan is a very interesting country. If you look at Azerbaijan, where it is geographically, it's at a very strategic point. It's a bit like Belgium in Europe. You know, it's surrounded by big powers. It's got Russia to the north, it's got Iran to the south, it's got Georgia and Turkey to the west. And it's only a small country surrounded by these big powers. And Azerbaijan is one of these smaller countries that has really learned that to really survive and prosper, it really has to get on with everybody. So it's not a country that really goes around trying to upset people. You know, it's got some very strategic issues in terms of oil pipelines, etc. So, you know, Azerbaijan is a country which just sits there and, you know, gets on with everybody, and, you know, it's not the sort of country that tries to invoke a lot of issues that would get it sanctioned.
And I've got one final question.
Sure.
You're the FD, so you know the numbers, you know the dividend. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you? Happy? Very happy? Ecstatic?
I'm mum.
Are you? With a nice smile.
I know. I can't. Well, it's obviously a very nice thing to say that we're paying a dividend. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, to give you an example of how rare this is, I've obviously been doing a lot of planning about the mechanics of paying a dividend. And I rang up our nomad, which is a guy called Ewan at SP Angel.
Yeah.
And I said, look, Ewan, you obviously know we're paying a dividend. I've got to look at all the issues about paying a dividend. What are the issues around paying a dividend in terms of a regulatory point of view?
Yeah.
And he turned around to me and says, look, Bill, I'm going to have to go and look it up because it's so long since I've had a gold mining company pay a dividend, I don't know them. So, I mean,
Almost the first. There was one more. I'm sorry you couldn't take your question, but there's a chance afterwards to ask a question over drinks and canapes. But Bill, thank you very much indeed.
Okay.